Little Red Riding Hood. A fairy tale from the collection Children's and Household Tales by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little girl who was loved by everyone who just looked at her. But most of all, her grandmother. She didn't know what to give the child. Once she gave him a little red velvet cap, and because it suited him so well, and he didn't want to wear anything else, it was just called Little Red Riding Hood. One day his mother said to him, "Come, Little Red Riding Hood, there you have a piece of cake and a bottle of wine. Take it out to grandmother. She is sick and weak and will feast on it. Get up before it gets hot, and when you come out, like this, walk politely and don't stray from the path, otherwise you'll fall and break the glass, and grandmother won't have anything. And when you come into her room, don't forget to say good morning, and don't look around in every corner." "I want to do everything right," said Little Red Riding Hood to her mother and shook her hand. But the grandmother lived out in the forest, half an hour from the village. When Little Red Riding Hood came into the forest, the wolf met him. But Little Red Riding Hood didn't know what kind of evil animal it was and wasn't afraid of it. "Hello, Little Red Riding Hood," he said. "Thank you, wolf." "Where are you going so early, Little Red Riding Hood?" "To grandmother." "What are you wearing under your apron?" "Cake and wine. Yesterday we baked, so the sick and weak grandmother should treat herself to something good and strengthen herself with it." "Little Red Riding Hood, where does your grandmother live?" "A good quarter of an hour further in the forest, under the 3 big oak trees." "There is her house, below are the nut hedges, you will know that," said Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf thought to himself, "The young tender thing is a fat morsel that will taste even better than the old one. You have to do it cunningly so that you can grab both of them." He walked next to Little Red Riding Hood for a while, then he said, "Little Red Riding Hood, look at the beautiful flowers that are all around. Why don't you look around? I think you're listening. Can't you see how the little birds sing so sweetly? You go there for yourself, as if you were going to school, and it's so funny out in the forest." Little Red Riding Hood opened her eyes, and when she saw the sun's rays dancing back and forth through the trees, and everything was full of beautiful flowers, she thought, "If I bring grandmother a fresh bouquet, that will make her happy too. It is so early in the day that I arrive at the right time," ran off the path into the forest and looked for flowers. And when it had broken one, it thought that there was a more beautiful one further out, and ran after it, and got deeper and deeper into the forest. But the wolf went straight to the grandmother's house and knocked on the door. "Who is outside?" "Little Red Riding Hood, here's cake and wine, open the door." "Just press the handle," cried the grandmother. "I'm too weak and can't get up." The wolf pressed the handle. The door jumped open, and without saying a word, he went straight to the grandmother's bed and swallowed her. Then he put on her clothes, put on her bonnet, lay down in her bed and drew the curtains. Little Red Riding Hood, however, had been running around after the flowers, and when she had collected so many that she couldn't carry any more, she remembered her grandmother and made her way to her. It was surprised that the door was open, and when it entered the room, it seemed so strange to it that it thought, "Oh my God, how anxious I feel today. Sections and otherwise I really enjoy being with my grandmother." It called out, "Good morning," but got no answer. Then she went to the bed and pulled back the curtains. The grandmother lay there with her bonnet pulled low over her face and looked so strange. "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have." "So that I can hear you better." "Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have." "So that I can see you better." "Oh, grandmother, what big hands you have." "So that I can grab you better." "But grandmother, what a terribly big mouth you have." that I can eat you better." As soon as the wolf had said that, he jumped out of bed and devoured poor Little Red Riding Hood. When the wolf had satisfied his appetite, he went back to bed, fell asleep, and began to snore loudly. The hunter was just passing by the house and thought, "How the old woman snores, you have to see if she's missing something." Then he entered the room, and when he came to the bed, he saw that the wolf was lying there. "I find you here, you old sinner," he said. "I have been looking for you for a long time." Now he wanted to aim his rifle when it occurred to him that the wolf could have eaten the grandmother and that she could still be saved. He didn't shoot, but took a pair of scissors and began to cut open the sleeping wolf's stomach. After he had made a few cuts, he saw the little red cap shining and a few more cuts, and the girl jumped out and cried, "Oh, how frightened I was, how dark it was in the wolf's room body." And then the old grandmother came out alive and could hardly breathe. But Little Red Riding Hood quickly fetched large stones. They filled the wolf's body with them, and when he woke up, he wanted to jump away, but the stones were so heavy that he immediately sank down and died. All three were happy. The hunter took off the wolf's fur and went home with it. The grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine that Little Red Riding Hood had brought and recovered again. But Little Red Riding Hood thought, "You don't want to run off the path into the forest alone again for the rest of your life if your mother has forbidden you to."